Wake up in the morning, feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders. I wanna move closer, but I don't control it. I know I've been trying, the door isn't open. I know it sounds funny, but really though, in the beginning we really close. Now we just cruising up on the coast. Don't wanna lose you, I really don't. My God, I'm working so hard. I let my guards down and I'm feeling so far. You won't cut me off and I'm ready to grow and I'm ready to know you more. Please, I honestly say I'm mature. It ain't my decision, it's yours. But I will persuade with my arm, cause I'm ready to run to your arms. I just want you to know that I wanna go to a place where I find you, a place I call home, a place where I'm not alone. And maybe I'll grow just a little bit more, and I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. I go back and forth when I feel your presence. I'm above the world. There isn't much better, but then I fall levels and levels below it. Don't know where I'm going, don't know where I'm holding. I say I gave up, but I know I didn't. It's just my frustration, I'm only human. I act like I know what I'm really doing, as long as it's you that I'm really choosing. I will never give up, no, I wanna do it your way. You're the king of the world, only wanna do what you say. I know that it's possible to give back my heart to you. Do it that you choose. I just want you to know that I wanna go to a place where I find you, a place I call home, a place where I'm not alone. And maybe I'll grow just a little bit more, and I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. I know that you love me, I really do. Just wanna do right by you till it's through. Please don't ignore me, please just adore me. Wanna be closer to you. I just wanna make you happy. A shining light looking right at me. I give to you gladly, that's my reaction. I just want you to know that I wanna go to a place where I find you, a place I call home, a place where I'm not alone. And maybe I'll grow just a little bit more, and I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored.
Okay.
Welcome to Parents and Pennies, where family meets financing and every dollar counts. Brought to you by MITM Business Consultants. Join your hosts, Art Abrahamian, with over 12 years of experience in finance, banking, and business advising, and Roy Rosales, a father of two and coach to many, who has an extensive background in real estate. These two family men are here for you, bringing real stories, practical tips, and financial wisdom every week to keep your family thriving. They'll help you secure your family's financial future through simple, memorable financial adjustments that will help you achieve your financial goals. Because when it comes to family and finances, it's not about having more, it's about making the most of what you have. Here's Art and Roy.
What is going on, everybody? Episode 9, We are here today to talk about the true cost of being a parent, which, I mean, it's only fitting, right? We are parents and pennies. So, what's going on, Roy?
What's up? What's up, everyone? Four most important things in my life. You know who was up. Yeah, man. I wish I would have known a little bit more about the cost or the investment of having a child. You know, it would have allowed me to see the bigger picture, which is more understandable if instead of just guessing oh yes, let's have a kid, but you not being aware how much it takes to have a kid and cost. So I'm very excited about this subject, and you know, I think this is going to help a lot of people out there.
I really hope so. You know, one of the things that recently came up, one of the guys that was over doing some landscaping at my house, he was a young guy. The main owner brought a young guy with him. He's like 20, 22, 21. I was talking to him, and I'm like, hey, man, how you been? Everything's good. Yeah, I'm good. I said, how are you and your lady doing? Oh, we're doing good. And, you know, as guys do, started talking like idiots. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, pretty much boiled down to like, well, if we have a kid, we both are in agreement that we're not trying for it, but we're not preventing it. And I looked at him and I started laughing. I was like, cool. So then you can't say you're not trying for it, but you're not preventing it, because that's carelessness is not an excuse. Right. And I'm just looking at this situation going, you're 22 and there's nothing wrong with what I'm about to say. I'm not knocking the guy. You're 22. You live at home. You're still trying to figure out your life.
Yeah.
Kids are a blessing.
Yes.
No matter how you look at this, kids are always a blessing. But sometimes you don't want to force a blessing too soon.
Yeah.
Because you might not be ready to receive that blessing. So you don't want to force it, right? You want to let it come naturally. So my biggest thing was like, and I had the conversation with him, but I couldn't get it through to him. You know, it's like, dude, yes, you could have a kid. And I'm like, and he said, oh, well, I was talking to some of my friends and they said, that's perfect. You just met this girl. It's perfect. You should. She's a good girl, this, that. And I'm like, you need better friends. Because if your friends are encouraging you to make life-altering decisions and you're not at a place where you're responsible enough to handle those decisions, then truth be told, maybe it's not the right time for you.
Yeah.
And when you break down the financial obligations that come with this, you know, we talk about these three things. Parenthood is rewarding, but it comes with a significant financial responsibility, right? A lot of families, and we see this on a daily basis, you as a realtor see it all the time. Me as a financial consultant, when I was at the bank, I saw it more. As a business advisor, I kind of see it less because I don't really deal with consumer topics as much as I do business. But it's like they underestimate, people in general just underestimate how expensive it is to raise a child, and then it leads to financial stress. You know, the point of this episode is going to be breaking down like the major expenses and providing like budgeting strategies to manage them. Now, a lot of people have used this excuse, well, it's too expensive to have a kid, so I'll never have a kid. I'm like, look, dude, if that's how you justify not starting a family, then that's on you. It's not for everybody. I tell people all the time, like, it's not for everybody. And understanding that is the most responsible thing you can do. If you know you don't want them, then just don't have them.
Yeah.
Because there's no point in bringing a child into that situation. But, I mean, what's your take?
Well, I think I know for a fact that having a child is going to change.
Yeah.
Regardless, right? Good or bad, depending on how you look at it. And they are all a blessing. First of all, a child is never at fault.
Right.
You made that decision to have,
exactly,
you know, a relationship with a significant other. So you should understand that that was going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, when I would have wanted to understand is a little bit more the details of having a child after. You know, what was it going to cost you? What were you going to say yes to? What were you going to say no to? And especially the first 5 years of their life, when you are literally either at home with the child or in daycare, right? Before they even start school. So that is something I would have wanted to learn a little bit more, or I should have been more informed willing to educate myself on that.
Yeah. How old were you when you had your first kid?
25, 26.
Oh, okay.
However, I wasn't aware either, you know, as far as what would it take having a child.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. I think our podcast covers that there is no age group that you can make the assumption that people know what they're. I mean, there are people who are in their 60s and still don't know much about financing and budgeting.
Yep.
I had my daughter at 24. Yeah, I was 24. She's turning 6. I'm 30. So by the time she was born, I was like 24 and a half, 25. It's one of these things where it's like, how many times did we used to hear as a kid, or not even as a kid, when we were younger, that having a kid costs at least $100,000 before they're 18?
I never heard that, man.
So I heard that all the time.
Okay.
That was the number then, was like, hey, if you have a kid, by the time they're 18, it's going to cost about $100,000. That was the number everybody used to throw around. Statistics are in.
Yeah. Let's hear those statistics, because I never heard that, man.
The average cost of raising a child from birth to age 18. I'm going to drum roll this one. $310,605. It went from $100,000 to $310.
What?
Yeah.
310,000?
Before they hit 18. We're not talking about college. We're not talking about any of that. We're literally talking from goo goo gaga to I'm going to college, Dad. We already $300,000 invested.
Wow.
Is
I
the
did
average.
not know that.
You've got two kids.
Two kids.
So that's 620. I have a second one on the way. So I got another $310,000 that I'm going to have to try to find from somewhere.
Oh, I'm happy to know that now, right? Because I'm in definitely a lot better situation now, and I'm so grateful. This is exactly what people should hear right now.
Yeah.
You will invest $310,000 into your child for the next 18 years.
And that's the average.
Yeah.
That's when you take so some people might do some less, but some people might do more, and it depends on the person. But this is like the average scope of what's been found, and that was through the Brookings Institution. So it's like, and most of these monthly expenses are related to like diapers, formula, healthcare, education. Inflation plays a huge role into a lot of things. And a lot of us as parents and families, and even if we're just by ourselves, it doesn't matter. Like, anybody listening knows that just going to the grocery store right now is an eye-opener. Like, eggs are like $18 a dozen. So much so that my wife finally might get her way of getting some chickens. Because I'd rather pay $200 for a chicken from a farm in Coachella and then have it give me 12 eggs a day, because we don't eat that many eggs. So it's like, if it's making me 12 eggs a week, I'm chilling.
Yeah.
But I'll pay $200 to save $18 every week.
Yeah.
Is kind of how I see it. So there's some things in there where it's like, you know, and you were talking about budgeting and daycare, or you were talking about daycare and childcare. It's like, that's another big oversight that people don't understand. It's like, you know, the average cost of daycare is anywhere from $1,000 or slightly, it could be $800, but it's usually like $1,000 to $1,600, especially here in California.
A week.
A week? No, a month. Some places. Where are you going $1,000 a week,
no,
dude?
bro. Nowadays it's $120 to $200 a day.
Damn. Well, I go above the $16,000 per year because we have somebody who comes to the house every day, you know, 5 days a week. So it's like for me, it's double because I pay like 3-4 G's a month.
Okay.
For my child care. And it's like,
yeah,
it's one of those things where it's like, I wanted it done a very specific way. So I had to make sure that I lived my life around it.
Yeah. Well, another thing that, you know, we don't look into it is how much do you work as well, and how much are you paying on daycare? That's one of the things that it gave us an aha moment with my wife. We're like, wait, you're working 40 hours a week. At the end of the week, after we paid the babysitter and all that, you're only keeping $200?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
No, I get it. And man, I that's the thing. Like, I come across couples who are like, oh, well, we're putting her in daycare. And I'm like, How much you pay for daycare? Because the average is 10 to 16,000 per year. That's what the average cost has been identified as being. But it's like, you look at couples and you're like, where do you work? Oh, I part-time at, I don't know, the dollar store. I'm part-time at the grocery store. I'm part-time at the gas station. Like, how much do you bring in? I bring in $400 a paycheck every 2 weeks. How much are you paying for daycare?
Yeah.
$1,000. Well, stay home.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a net positive that you're working. If anything, you're netting $200. It's like, stay home. There has to be a financial we call in the finance world where we call a break even. So it's you could spend X amount of dollars, but before you start looking at your ROI, your return on investment, you look at what's called a break even. So if I invest 10 grand into something, then my break even, depending on what I project income to be, will be based off that. So if I spent 10 and I'm making $1,000 a month in income, my break even's 10 month. Everything after my 10-month period is all considered profits on my ROI, my return on my investment, right? That number, that time frame is different for everybody. And this is giving everybody a quick little financial lesson. So if you're putting 40 hours a week and making $800 after taxes, after everything's said and done, or you're bringing in a paycheck of $400 every 2 weeks, but you're paying a $1,000 a month bill and you're only making $800, you're never going to have a break-even point. It doesn't even make sense for you to do that. Your time is actually more valuable than that paycheck. So you're better off just staying home and saving yourself the $200 difference. But it's one of those things where it's like, okay, so we've identified our break-even. We've talked about our ROI. And in some families, it doesn't make sense, right? Like in our family, being that the wife has a good job, she's, in nursing, it's like, even what I spend, I'd lose if she stayed home. So it's like, that's why she doesn't stay home. And it's like, if she stays home, then the family, because we're a family unit. So it's like, if she stays home, then the family will not only, yes, we'll gain back what we pay a month, but there are cheaper options.
Yeah.
Which we're starting to explore now because our kid's at that age where it's like, we've now accelerated her beyond the scope. She's 5, but she's been tested to be at a first grade level instead of a kindergarten level, which that's what we're trying to get situated, is to push her forward. But I did my investment. There it was. I got my kid ahead of the curve. Great. Yeah. Now I can pull it back because now she's going to start going to school. So it's like, cool, I can start pulling back. So if I get rid of our daycare situation where we have it private, and I go to public, I'll save $2,000 a month. That goes back into the family pool. What can I do with that $2,000 a month? I could probably start looking at real estate outside the state of California.
Yeah.
To make it work for me. But what would happen if I told my wife, okay, quit your job? Well, yeah, I'd be saving the $3,000 that I pay a month, or whatever amount I pay a month. But I'll be losing even more because if the wife makes more than $3,000 a month, let's say she makes 10, then I'm gaining 3, but I'm losing 7.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, now the family household has lost 7 G's. We saved 3, but we lost 7. That doesn't help anybody. So you kind of have to understand your numbers and how to budget it. And having that conversation with your significant other, even if whether you're the husband or the wife, and just being like, your job, I know you like it, but it's not doing anything for the family. We're better off you staying home and watching the kids.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely the first 5 years of a child is one of the most important chapters of their life, right? Because you're not at school, all that stuff. So they get to see you and they get to find the habits that you're implementing into them. And, one of the things is my wife is a stay-at-home mom now. And that's a
job.
And that is a job. Oh, yes, that is a job to make sure the house is right, the kids are right, I'm right. That mentally, physically, and spiritually, she's my peace, right? And once we made that move, that shift, it made everything else better. So you talk about numbers, she made it better.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, that made more sense now. And it is making more sense now because of my line of work, I can, from 0 to 100, I need to be on a property.
Right.
It's not like, all those things happening, especially in real estate, like I need to be available. So my wife being available for our kids and anything that is going on is what's helping us,
right?
Along the way. So for me personally, right, she being at home, being in my life more, seeing her every day, not negotiating, hey, can we have this weekend off? Can we not have this weekend off?
Are you
All
going to
that.
be available to watch the kids because I'm at the office or this, that?
One of our kids gets either sick or hurt, like she's there, and we don't have to ask for permission to, hey, can I take the day off? And then they get upset, and then you're like, oh, I'm in doo-doo, right? So I'm like, nah. So this has been a great experience noticing. Would I have, again, if I would have understood these numbers from the very beginning, would I have made a difference? Yes. I would have made a bigger difference in the beginning in having her be at home more from the very beginning. But it is what it is. I've learned from that. But now having that is 310,000. Damn.
Yeah.
Like that lets you really think about, do I really want to have a child right now?
Yeah.
Am I ready? Right.
I'm already thinking. I'm over here. I'm like, well, damn, I've been paying close to 3 Gs. It's been 5 years. 36 times 5. I'm already almost 170 grand. 180 grand.
And that's only one third
and
of it.
she's only 5 years old.
That's 1/3
I got
of it.
13 more years.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I'm not the average.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to be there. But see, now I'm pulling it back because it's like, I don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, in my opinion, it's like, that's my first kid.
Oh.
I'm doing it different on the
And
next
it's a girl.
one.
And again, the girl.
Well, the next one's a girl, too.
Yeah, no, but also I think, I know that God blesses us with the girl first. It's allowing us as men to be better in life.
And softer.
And softer,
understand
more
where-
caring,
yeah, exactly.
it is. I keep it real right there. Like, my daughter changed me. My daughter helped me be more me genuinely because she allowed me to love more.
Yeah.
Right. And then, when we hug each other, we tell each other, hey, I love you, bro. Like, have a blessed day. Like, I wouldn't do that 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
Now I do it with encouragement, but not being shy about it.
Yeah.
My daughter helped me through that too. So having my daughter prepared me to love people more, prepared me to love my son more, and everything. So it's a blessing to have a daughter.
Yeah.
And, but
Shout out all the girl dads.
yeah, man. That respect to all of you because that life-changing moments right there, and their daughter could be the reason why you're you're living your best life now.
Yeah, 100%.
And you want to give her everything you want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she deserves it because why? She gave you love that no one else was giving you love.
Yeah, it's unconditional love for sure.
For sure.
So it's like, talk to, as girl dads, we know what this next topic is like, extracurricular activities and the hidden costs that are associated with them, right? Like, again, boy dads deal with this too. You have a boy and a girl. But girl dads, it's like we deal with this a little bit because the dance and cheer and yoga and ballet and this and that. My daughter's in folklorico, ballet, tap jazz. We pulled her away from ice skating, but she wants to go back to ice skating and ballet. So I've got 5 classes that I have to pay every month. And then associated with those are like clothing, dresses, shoes, accessories, hair, like traveling, like the folklorico that my daughter does. She just performed at the Date Festival. Her dresses, we have to make custom. We make custom made dresses. We do all these things. And it's like, it's not cheap. And they finally figured out what the average family spends per year per child on sports. And you coming from coaching, you know how much this is too, because you coach football. So it's like, that stuff's not cheap either. The average family spends between $500 and $2,000 per year per child, sports, music, and activities. That includes equipment, uniform, travel, competition fees. It adds up quickly. There are ways to save. Secondhand gear, community programs, scholarships are a big one. The debate's always been, should parents set a sports activity budget or invest in passions freely, right? And that's one of the things where it's like, do we set a budget? Where it's like, hey, we can, and I think it's important to set a budget, but I think it's important to invest in passions freely too. What I mean by that is this. Everything my daughter loves, I'll go full force on. Whatever my daughter's kind of iffy about, I don't put that much time and attention into.
Yes.
Because she doesn't. And what do we always say? We can't care about somebody's stuff more than they care.
Yeah.
So I'm done doing that. I'm backing up. Oh, I throw my hands up. I say, I'm done. I'm not going to care about your dance class more than you care. Now we've taken a stance where it's like, if you're going to continue to say you don't want to go to dance, then we're just going to pull you from it.
Yeah.
Because you don't get to have your cake and eat it too. You either go because you want to go or we're not paying for it. Because at the end of the day, they may not understand that, but our wallets understand that. Yeah. That we're not in that luxury where we can just throw $100 at the wall every month for you not to benefit from it. Because I'd rather keep that money at that point.
And well, not only the luxury, right, but your daughter learning a valuable lesson.
Right.
We're not here to waste time, right? If you really want to do this, like, we're all in. If we sense a 50-50, no, we're not going to go through that.
Right.
Regardless if we could afford it or not. It's because of that, she's going to learn the value of what she's going to be passionate for. And that is so important. That's something I've talked about in the Quantum Leap with the seniors these last month or so. It's like, do what's important to you. Because if you always do what's important to you, you will always live a rich life. And that is so valuable for a child to learn, is what is going to make me happy? What am I going to learn? What am I passionate about? Because they're always going to have joy if they're doing what passion. You know, it's totally fine to try things. Just don't waste time.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, don't sit there and drag it out for 10 months and pay all this money just to realize you don't like it. Like, you need to figure that out soon. And when we started taking stuff away, the classes, is when she was like, if I don't start going, they're going to start taking the stuff I do like away. Yeah. So we got rid of all the crap you don't like. But, and I think the key takeaway here is, like, they're valuable, right? Like, extracurriculars are valuable. I grew up in a household where, we didn't grow up fortunate enough to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Because the money just wasn't there. The time wasn't there. The resources weren't there. My parents were nonstop working, so they didn't have the time to take me to these classes. I got to wrestle from middle school all the way up to college, which was great. But that's all there was a lot of stuff that I wanted to do. And as an adult, I find myself taking guitar lessons, taking this, doing that, taking language classes, because all the things I wanted to do as a kid, I'm grateful for my upbringing, but I'm in a position now where it's like, let me go back.
Yeah.
Let me go back a little bit. Let me try to get some, because I want to enjoy this stuff too. I want to do the extracurriculars. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to go to jiu-jitsu with my daughter.
Oh, okay.
I want us to go to jiu-jitsu together, because they wouldn't let her in because she was too young. Now she's 5, almost 5.5. So now I can take her. I want her and dad to go to jiu-jitsu class together, and then kickboxing, because I want her to be ready for the real world in case somebody tries to come up and do something crazy with her too. But it's one of those things where it's like, there's a lot of things that we took with us growing up, and there's a lot of things that we learned from growing up where we're like, this was a valuable experience, but I'll never carry that forward. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to double it and pass it to the next one.
Yeah.
Like, we went through it as adults. We learned from it. We made us tough. It made us who we are, but we're like, I ain't going to do it that way.
Yeah.
And that's okay. We talked about the buddy of mine that refuses to punish his kids because he was so severely beaten as a child, where he's like, I'm afraid that if I start, I'll end up like the way that, my parents did to me when he was a kid. And I'm like, I get that, but that's an irrational fear of, like, you already have that fear of turning into that monster, so that should keep you in check. Yeah. But you can't let your kid run wild either, because look what's happening. Like, they're having all sorts of issues that, like, you had your issues as a kid, but now you're creating new issues for your kid. And you don't know how to deal with those issues because you never had those issues. Yeah. So it's like communication and realization are really important, right? And it's like, you and the family just came back from vacation.
Yeah.
So I think you should take this next one because you know better than anybody.
Family vacation and travel cost. I think this is exactly one of those that you don't implement when having a kid, right? And the average cost of a domestic family vacation is roughly between $4,500 and $6,000, right, a year. So why is that important? Because sometimes we don't see how much it will cost us just to travel, right? And we're just like, oh, it's okay, it's okay. Well, no, we got to understand what we're saying yes to.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I mentioned before, my wife and I and our family are in a better situation now than ever before. And we were able to go a 3-day weekend, you know, to enjoy Mexico. And we literally tried over 20 different restaurants.
That's
and
great.
Bro, I'm telling you.
As a guy that's fasting all the time, I'm sure you were like, let's go.
Let's go. And I didn't gain any weight, by the way, because of that. So I had the best. My wife and I had the best time. We enjoyed it. We enjoyed different foods. And because we were always fasting, we were able to limit ourselves. Like, hey, just give me 1 or 2 tacos here. And then an hour later, we're walking and then like, hey, let me try that. Let me try that. So we were able to really enjoy our foods. And for my surprise, what I was expecting to maybe have 1 or 2 things that would say, oh my God, this is the best I've ever tasted. I tried 7.
Nice.
And for me, and my wife was like, I can't wait to do it again. Right. So why do I say that? Is because whenever you think about a vacation, you want a vacation to be memorable and having a great experience for everyone, not just you. Because then that $4,500 to $6,000 that you're going to spend on that vacation, everyone will be so happy that you don't have to redo it again.
Right.
Because the worst thing that can happen is, oh, you had fun, but everyone else didn't. Right. And that's where having the right vacation with the right people is allowing you to say it was well worth it. Sure. And having that, you know, that's why for me, you don't have to go so out of the way for you to say I had a vacation. Right. Man, it can be a vacation, staycation, right? Yeah. You just don't do anything or
go somewhere local. You don't have to go to Mexico. You can go to LA and go to the zoo or, you know, one of the things, and I'm going to pass it back to you in a second. I just want to, you said something that really struck, which is like, you guys had a great time and you created a memory with that 4,500 to 6,000. The memory that you're going to create, did you do that cash or did you put that all on credit?
Oh, straight up cash.
Okay.
Straight out cash.
So the reason I'm asking this question is you didn't just have that cash lying around. You knew you were going on vacation. Yeah. You set that aside, right? So here's a really important thing for our listeners right now to understand is plan your trips accordingly and then create budgets for those trips. Yeah. Because here's the difference between Roy and somebody who put it on a credit card. Roy's going to remember this trip, and I'm going to put it on face cam here. Arian, I want you to clip this. Roy's going to remember this trip because he planned it, he saved for it, he budgeted accordingly, and he got to enjoy his time there. Versus somebody who puts it on credit is going to remember that trip because it's always going to be on their credit card and they're still going to be paying for it a year down the road, 2 years down the road. So it really asks the question then, does it go to, did you really enjoy your trip? Because if it's financially burdening you years later, months later, and you're now paying almost 20% more because you financed it, maybe that wasn't the right trip to go on as a family. Yeah. Because our kids will remember how much fun they had, not where they went. Yeah. That's the reality of it, is they know what they'll enjoy, the time they spent with us, not where they were. Yeah. So if you think you have to take your kid to Hawaii to have a good time, you could take them to Disneyland for 10 grand cheaper and have an even better time. But if you budget accordingly, you'll value that time that you spent with them because you spent it, the money was earmarked for this vacation. And that's the biggest thing. So I'm going to pass it back to you, but I just wanted to make that point.
No, planned it right, have the money available. That was made it more exciting. Right. Is that we could do this and we said yes to everything. Right. Because
that's what this money's for.
Exactly.
That's what we're going to spend $5 grand. That's what it's for. We're
and
here
would
to
it
spend
shock
this
you?
Money.
Would it shock you that because we planned it right and we went to the right places, all those within the 3 days with the hotel, it was less than $1,500.
No way. You did the whole trip for less than
$1,500, bro.
Because you planned.
We planned it. That's and for us to come back with money still, that's another dub.
That's another trip. We're going to take that extra money and we're going to roll it into the next one.
Yes.
And that's it.
And that's where, for me, it has been very valuable, is having planned vacations, planned events, planned this, planned that. It's just, worst case scenario is it's going to cost us this much. Okay. And if we don't go up to that and we come back with money, great. We all had fun, And we still had, so, and we're not stressing about how are we going to pay this next month?
Yeah.
How are we going to pay this the next couple months? That for me, I remember those moments when I put it on credit card. And for the next 10 months, I was stressed out.
Right. How am I going to pay for this trip? And you don't even get to enjoy the trip now because all you're thinking about is, crap, man, this trip was expensive.
Do we really need to go to this restaurant?
Yeah.
We wouldn't have, right? We wouldn't have. We would have been like, hey, we could probably only eat 3 times somewhere. Yeah. We can't go all 10 the first day. So
I had a friend, Roy. I still have this friend. And all the people who know who I'm talking about are probably going to start laughing, but he took his, at the time, girlfriend, it's his wife now, to Miami. And we asked him, hey, dude, he didn't have a job at this point. He has, a wealthy family. And he put it on the credit card that the family shares, like, it's American Express. Bro, he was gone for like 4 days. And I want you to guess how much he spent.
4 days in Miami with the flight and the hotel and the food?
Yeah.
At least 7.
So he spent almost like 20.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Damn, bro.
He spent almost 20. And I asked him, I said, bro, how did you possibly, we stayed at the best hotel. We ate at only the best restaurants. And I'm like, but why?
Yeah.
Like, because that hotel is where a bunch of rappers stay. Cool, but couldn't you have stayed at the hotel 3 streets down? That was 70% cheaper, and you could walk to that hotel and get to hang out at the hotel. Because you don't have to stay at the hotel to go to the hotel bar, go to the hotel restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're in the most diverse hodgepodge of, like, Latin cultures, because Miami is full of, like, Cubans, Haitians, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans. I mean, you name it. There's a lot of Latin food. So if you like Latin American food, that is the spot to be. You could have gone to a bunch of street vendors, had some amazing tacos, had some amazing food, had some amazing drinks. But because your trip was earmarked for only the most expensive, needless to say, he didn't have the money for paying this trip. The dad was extremely frustrated and kicked him off the card and was like, hey, dude, no, I'm sorry. You can't do this anymore. It's ridiculous. It's like, just because we have money doesn't mean you get to spend it like that. Where it's like, I just didn't understand that. I'm like, you set yourself up to give a life to somebody where it's like, first of all, why are you setting the expectation that only thing we do is at the highest caliber?
Yeah,
where it's
balling.
like, for what? It's like, dude, in my opinion, as good as he thinks his trip was, it could have been better for $5,000.
Yeah.
Because he would have walked everywhere. You would have tried food that you normally wouldn't have tried. So it's like, there's so many opportunities to look at. Yeah, you could ball out and do things the most, but are you really getting the most out of it? Because sometimes the walks is where you discover. You walk to a vendor, you walk here. I mean, how many places while you guys were walking that you didn't know existed and you're like, let's go try that? I mean, tell us.
Oh, well, that's one of the things that at the hotel that we stayed at, there was a lot of restaurants there, and there's a bar and over there. And there was a coffee shop. So I was like, let's go get some coffee right now at 6 p.m. Like, let's go walk. And we walked not even half a mile. Bro, there was 50 food vendors right there. 50.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God. Right? Thank you, God.
400-pound darts. Like, I hate you right now. I want to eat 50 food vendors.
Bro. It was so amazing. Great experience because everything was there.
Yeah.
And that's where we tried 3 of our best foods that we've ever tasted before.
What were they?
Oh, my God. I'm already right now. Oh, man. You got me going. So one was the cart was called Lord of Elotes. So I'm like, you have that sign. I'm like, you have to be good.
Yeah.
There was a big-ass line. So we ordered that. Oh, my God. My wife and I, enjoyed it so much. So, and then we tried the best torta of our life, and that was a Cuban torta, bro.
Okay.
And that is called Don Javier. Man, it had egg, it had cheese, it had chorizo, it had a weenie, it had ham, bro. It toasted. Oh my God, bro! That first bite, my eyes just went. My eyes just went like that, bro. Oh, man, that was so delicious. And, another thing that we tried was crepas. crepes. That was so damn good. It was like an ice cream cone type of thing. It was kind of like a crunchy. Oh man, it was so delicious. And you know, we were just walking around and enjoying. We were talking, holding hands, and you know, my wife is taller than me, so her hand was over my shoulder, bro. You know what I mean? So I'm like, that's all good. 12 years married, you know what I mean? It's like, it was whatever now. But it was such an amazing moment for us to reconnect, right? And for us to know, like, man, we didn't have to spend that much. We didn't have to go wild.
How much were the food? Like the crepes and all that?
Bro, we had our best breakfast the next day. I ordered, like, it's called La Cocina de Doña Estela.
Okay. The cuisine of Miss Estela?
Bro, it was legit. There was about 200 people waiting.
Wow.
We waited 45 minutes. And I'm like, we're not coming here like every day. So I ordered 8 plates. I was like, it's probably going to be about 150 or $90.
Nice.
You know, and I was like, dang, you know, and we ate some really homemade food. It was so damn delicious. And again, we just got to experience that. For me, every time we were, you know, buying something, it was like less than $10. You know what I mean? We was just trying things.
Yeah.
And for me, that was the biggest blessing, man. It's for me to reconnect with my wife. Valentine's weekend, you know, we enjoyed each other, and you know, and shout out to my sister-in-laws that took care of our kids, and we really do appreciate you for doing that. And it was just a wonderful time. I tell that to my clients now. I want you all to have an experience like that. Just plan it out and go enjoy it.
Yeah, it's doable. It's
very
doable if you plan for it. Don't just throw it on a credit card. But, oh, man, I'm glad you guys had a great time, and it, you know, you guys deserved it. You work, you know, well, like I told you when we were texting, I'm like, we work hard so we can play hard.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. But there's a certain point where our kids are going to be ready for higher education, and that's what leads us into our next topic, which is saving for college.
Yeah.
How does that start? When does that start, right? And it's like, just to put it into retrospect, since we're talking about inflationary rates, college tuition has increased by nearly 180% over the last 40 years. The average tuition cost as of 2024, public in-state, $10,500 a year. Public out-of-state, $20,000 or $23,000 a year. Private university, almost $40,000 a year.
Wow.
And we'll do a different topic on this. We'll bring in some financial advisors that still practice and sell 529 saving plans and custodial accounts, because those are the two you want to look into, and which one's the best option. But just balance the point of this conversation, just balancing college savings with retirement planning. Which one should come first, right? Every small step, and when you guys had me speak at that Quantum Leap event, is like, one thing I said to the crowd was, and you know, I told the kids, I said, it doesn't matter how much money any of us ever have. The one thing that makes you richer than everybody in this room is your time.
Yeah.
Because we could have $10 million in our pocket right now, but what we can't buy is time.
Yeah. And
time, when you're looking at things from a perspective of investments, investing your money, time is the king. Because time is what allows compounding interest to grow the way that it does. So this is a really not controversial. It's a very complicated topic, and it's a topic that I don't want to spend what we have the last 20 minutes before we skip over some of this other stuff, because the next one's more important. And this one, I find myself as a parent, I'm sure you do too, having our next topic be more of a concern than the current saving for college. Because there's a lot of Pell Grant, Bog Waiver, there's a bunch of things out now, and you know, the next topic is managing medical and emergency expenses, right?
Yeah.
And this is something we've come into seeing as a family man, and being, you know, whether it's our wife, whether it's our kids, to noticing we've had to deal with this issue probably more than we've ever had to deal with any of these other issues. It's crazy to think, you know, the average medical cost for a child's first year, the first year, and this is a part of what we were talking about, how it costs $310,000 a year to have a kid, or $310,000 in the life expectancy of them being up to 18, and then they go out on their own, which I don't agree with them going out on their own at 18, but that's a different topic. But the average medical cost for a child's first year of existence is $12,000 to $15,000. That includes hospitals, pediatric care, vaccinations. the importance of health insurance and emergency funds and life insurance for parents is evident, right? Because it's like, if you don't have those things, then who's going to pay that 12 to 15 grand?
Yeah.
Do you have that for the first year of your child's, birth? And then it's like unexpected expenses, right? Orthodontics, therapy, tutoring, medical emergencies. Like tutoring, I have that going on right now. I have my daughter in tutoring because she started where she's really advanced. There was one part where we're just trying to teach her how to read efficiently at 5 so that by the time she goes to kindergarten, they're going to be like, no, go to first, which is what I'm hoping for. But there was a certain concept of the tutoring where it was like, I have a friend who's a TK teacher, and I was like, hey, dude, what would it cost to have you come and teach my daughter 3 times a week, every week? Mm-hmm. And he gave me the price. I said, that's worth it in my opinion, because when you have a kid and that kid's ahead, it's like anything, right? There's a certain level of that chart where it's like they're ahead of the curve until they meet the threshold of which they're on par with their skills.
Yeah.
And their skills will either continue to go up or it'll flatline or it'll go down. So the goal is like, just like with any business, with any family savings, with whatever, identify that you may be ahead right now, but always keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Because there's a certain break even where it's like, even on performance, there's a certain performance metric where it's like, are we continuing the upward trends or did we flatline? If we flatline, that means we're about where we should be.
Yeah.
So then now we need to step it up. Do we want to keep going down? Or if we think we're going to coast off what we have and we don't push, then what's going to happen is we go up, we flatline, and then we start going down, because as things start getting more complicated and you're not vesting into your child or whatever, anything, this is anything, you now have a negative trend going because you have to keep the gas pedal on the growth and development.
Yeah. No, that's so smart. I think that's one thing that my wife and I are gonna implement is that tutor, right? Because we want our kids to be advanced, right? They'll enjoy life better. Yeah. Right? Because the struggle or the challenges is when the kid is left behind.
Sure.
And that's when you have a kid being, it can go sideways real quick, and self-esteem issues, all the stuff that can go into a kid nowadays is really real. Yeah. Quicker and faster. So I want to put our kids in the best position possible. So I'm going to ask you after our podcast is like, who's your tutor? What's up with that? What do you look for? Because I want the best for our kids. So I'd rather say yes to that than, hey, let's go on another trip. So that for me, because that is more important. My child is going to thank me in the long run because of that. And like we mentioned before, it doesn't matter where the vacation is at. As long as we all have fun and the money is there, we are going to enjoy our time. Yeah. It's just I want now to invest in my kid even more now because of the opportunities that we're having now. So, yeah, man, that's a great, topic right there is you got to have available money for you to give it everything you got to your kids. The worst thing that can happen is like, oh, I don't have money, I can't invest on my kid. Like, man, that sucks. That sucks.
But you can invest in your rims on your new truck. You can invest. You know how many times I hear that? Oh, I can't afford that. Didn't you just buy a new car that you can't afford too? Yeah. You couldn't afford that either. Yeah. But so what's more important?
Yeah, man, that's a trip.
Tell us why number 7 is important, bro. Take us home. Home stretch.
Yeah. So strategies for budgeting and saving as a parent. Creating a family budget with categories for major expenses like the 50, 30, and 20 rule. 50% of wants, 30% of savings, and 20% of debt or whichever it is. And that's where you want to get into a little bit more is when everyone is aware of where the money's going, everyone doesn't have a question about it. But when you're the only partner just talking about it and you're not disclosing that to your spouse and then your kids, then they're always going to say, well, why can't we go out? Well, why can't we do this? Well, why, right? Now, when you are letting everyone know, hey, this is the amount of money we have for us to do what needs to happen, what we want to happen, and for anything that could happen.
Right.
now everyone is in the same page. So now when we talk about, hey, we only get one trip this next 3 months, where do we want to go?
Right. Because vacation's a want, not a need. So we
exactly.
put 50% into needs, 30% into wants, 20% into savings and debt. Well, out of the money we got, 30% is going to wants. That's a vacation want. But education, I think that's a need.
That is a need.
I think that's a need. So it's like, again, this number, the 50-30-20 rule, and I think I talked about it on a podcast. I know I've done it when we do our seminars. But I tell people all the time, I'm like, this is just a rule of thumb.
Mm-hmm.
You determine ultimately, because every household's different, the percentage. It's just a rule of thumb that you can give to anybody who doesn't know much about it and give them a simplified solution. But what goes in needs and wants is very important because you have to kind of figure what's what. Like, I think education is a must.
Yes.
It is a need, not a want. I don't want my kid to be educated. I need my kid to be educated. Because if I'm trying to set a pathway of success for my child, then I need to invest in that need and turn it into a need versus a want. Some would argue and say, well, that's a want. What your kid needs is love and affection. It's like, right, but we're talking about the scope of financial, implication. And it's like, my kid needs education. My kid doesn't need Cabo San Lucas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they'll be fine without Cabo San Lucas, but they won't be fine if they never get past the 6th grade education and they're 18 years old.
Yeah.
Because in the United States, unfortunately, it's really sad. And I'm really hoping that we address this. It seems like a lot's being addressed between the health now. The health thing's going to start changing now that we have Robert Kennedy in, where it's like, that guy's serious, dude. He's serious about cutting out dyes and hormones and this, and I'm excited for that because I can tell the difference when my kid has foods with dyes and coloring additives in it.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell the difference when you give a kid something with like red 40 or blue 30 or whatever. I can tell the sugar high is way stronger. Mm-hmm. Like, those dyes are like the fentanyl of the food groups, in my opinion. And even me going through like my journey, my weight loss journey, it's like eating super clean, and then once in a while I'll take a bite of something that's not clean, has additives and dyes. Bro, I hurt all day.
Oh, yeah.
All day. When I say hurt, I mean like I am in pain all day. My GI system, because of how in-depth, how messed up it was to have most of it removed anyways, I get the slightest gas or cramp, it ruins me all night. Like, I am tossing and turning all night. Those are the most like coma-inducing foods that I've noticed. So when I sit there and I'm like, I was feeding, and when you're 411 pounds, you don't understand. You understand that eating healthy, but you don't know what that really means.
Yeah.
You think giving them Five Guys over McDonald's is healthy. You know what I mean? You're like, but it's not frozen. They made it fresh. It doesn't make it healthy.
Yeah.
It's a better option, but it's still an unhealthy option. So it's like there's a category of like really unhealthy, and somewhat unhealthy. And it's like, now I've learned that through my own trial and error, and I've had to adjust that for my child's lifestyle too. Because what I thought I was being smart and healthy about, well, I was getting her baked chips.
Yeah.
Like, why am I buying chips?
Yeah.
Why am I buying chips? There's apples at the house. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's like, it's the same thing. So it's like I took this topic and I went overboard because the health stuff's really important now. I have a new take on this life because I've been given a second chance, and it's like
second view of things. First of all,
exactly. It's like,
and we both come from that background right now, right? We're both living in our better fit life right now, and we both have seen the difference. We both have tasted what's really good food and what's, damn, that was in my body.
Yeah.
So we want to give what's best for our kids, and we have to go through those chapters for us to learn from it. And that's where that the thing goes into, and I'm glad you are. Like, we start thinking about it, but that's the purpose of being a parent, is you're always looking forward to getting better.
Right, and then passing it over.
Yes.
Like, take all the bad things of your childhood, get rid of it, take all the good things, and make them better with your own kid.
Oh man, it's such a blessing to have those conversations, and to anyone that is out there struggling with weight or their kids, like, hey, you're not helping your kid, you know, be in a better position when you're feeding them bad food.
Yeah.
Right? They're huffing and puffing. They don't want to go outside. They just want to stay inside. And it's like, how are you allowing them to have a freedom if they're stuck in that way?
Yeah.
Right? So you got those are things that don't cost you. That saves you money.
Yeah.
And again, right? We're going a little bit more off topic, but it still is the cost of being a parent.
Yeah.
It's not just
It's
money.
not just money, exactly. It's financial, it's mental, it's emotional. It's like, that's the thing. And we're two, at the end of the day, we're two dads.
Yeah.
We're two dads that do this for fun and we enjoy it. So, you know what? We're allowed to take this off topic because the people listening are parents just like us, and they're probably laughing, going, damn, you're right. That is pretty stressful. Or, I think I give my kids that food too. And it's like, dude, at the end of the day, this conversation, tying it all together, it was never meant to make somebody who thinks they're ready for a kid go, I'm not ready for a kid. All we're saying is just be mentally mindful that before you go off and do something, before you don't plan, right? Well, we're not trying, but we're not preventing. That means you're trying.
Yeah.
And what in life have you ever accomplished where you said, well, I'm not trying to do good at it, but if it happens, it happens?
No.
That just doesn't make sense. So if you wouldn't do that when you're driving, if you wouldn't say, well, I'll fly the plane today. I don't know how to fly a plane, but you know what? Me and my wife have decided if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
So why would you do that with another life?
Yeah.
So it's like, we're not telling you don't have kids. All we're saying is take a step back, get off your high horse thinking that you're ready.
Yeah.
When you still live at home, and there's nothing wrong with living at home. It's not that. The biggest gripe and grievance, you've heard me say this, and I think this is the first time I'm saying this on the podcast, and I'll say it, I don't care, I stand by this. So if any parents out there who have used this excuse as the reason you're a good parent, I'm sorry, you don't get to use this excuse, not in front of me at least. I have seen parents who have failed as parents, and they say the same thing. I don't know why they're complaining. I always had a roof and food on the table for them. And my response, congratulations, you did the bare minimum. You decided to have a family. You don't get to sit there and talk about how you're the best dad in the world because you did the two most essential bare minimum things for starting a family. You don't get to feed your kids and put food on the table and put a roof over their head and think that's where that ends.
Yeah.
That's where it starts.
Yeah.
What about all the time that your kid was looking for advice and you were never there? What about the time that your kid was going through a breakup and you were never there? What about that time that your kid wanted to hug and you were never there? What about I could go on and where are those times?
Yeah.
You're so proud of yourself for doing the bare minimum, which I'm grateful that you and I are friends because I've never heard you be proud of the basic things.
Oh man. That's always a blessing.
Every story we talk about when we talk about our kids, and I hope I'm the same, but I've never heard you be proud of yourself because you did the bare minimum.
No, because that's not how I hold my life and that standard. Because I want to be remembered. I want my daughter and my son to remember me. I had the best dad ever, and I had the best role model. He set expectations. That's how I want to be. That's how I want my daughter to find her husband.
Yeah,
like that's where we want. Or my son finding his wife. Because he's seeing my wife how she treats me.
If you didn't see it at home, why are you getting anything less?
Exactly. And that for me, the little minor things, accomplishment, those are wins. That's gonna take us to the big win. But and if we don't acknowledge that or tell our kids that, like, hey, that's good, and then they're like, but that's not that big. It doesn't matter. That's good. You learned something.
Right.
I'm proud of you. And I want to tell my kid that every day, and that's where, the basics. That's it. All starts in life. Is the basics.
Right.
Are you good with the basics? If you're good with the basics, you are gonna surpass your goal and anyone else out there because you know the basics. But when you're trying to skip the basics, then don't get mad when it all crumbles in the end.
Right. And don't do the basics and think you're done.
And done. Nah,
That's it.
It's not it. Because someone else can be telling my wife, hey, you look beautiful, you look pretty, hey, you fine. Someone else can be doing that. You know what I mean?
It's funny you say that, because whenever you hear about these cheating stories, whether it's on the guy side or girl side, it's like the same thing gets said. Well, he told you just never give me the attention, and he was there, and he was emotionally available. It's like, well, it's getting comfortable anywhere in a relationship. One day my wife and I were talking, and I said, having a relationship is work. And she was like, well, that's rude. I said, why is that rude?
Yeah.
It's a job.
Yeah.
I have to be there at all times. I have to be ready for emergencies. I have to actively stay on top of it. And if I treat it like a job, but I do it because of passion, then I'll always be a good husband.
Yeah.
I'll always be a good spouse. I'll always be a good boyfriend. I'll always be a good girlfriend. I'll always be a good this. You can't just do something and think it ends there. I tell my kids sometimes, because I'm like, me and mommy want to spend some time together. Go to grandma's.
Yeah.
Why? I want to be with you guys. And I tell her, I said, I look my 5-year-old in the face and say, I was a boyfriend and I was a husband way before I was a father.
Yes.
And mom needs that sometimes.
Yeah.
So, bye.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing, right? You're building that foundation, the basics for her to know that.
Yeah.
That's how my dad respected my mom. And that's how I'm going to get respect too. So, yes, the relationship between the husband and the wife come first. Because if you ain't happy, the kids ain't going to be happy.
Exactly.
And
it just bleeds into everything else.
Everything else. So, hey, man, we are literally checkboxing all the that we both value. And it's basics. It's basics. We just give effort and energy to all those things, because those are going to matter in the near future. Kids remembering those lessons, kids remember those vacations, kids remember this, instead of telling them, oh, we can't do it because you came into the world. Oh, why aren't you more grateful?
Yeah, like you didn't bring me into this world. I didn't just show up at your doorstep. Oh, wrong delivery.
Yeah, man. And the storks, you know what I mean? It all that, man. I would like all the fathers and mothers out there to like, hey, if we gave a little bit more energy and effort to what we decided to say yes to those blessings, like I promise you will not regret it.
Yeah, I agree.
And regardless if that vacation is costing $500, it doesn't matter. The priceless moments is that you were spending time with your family, walking with your family, smiling, getting one treat here, one treat there. That's what the kids are gonna remember. That's what you're gonna remember.
It's not the location.
It's not the location. So don't feel bad about anything. It's your life. It's your family's life. You have control, and go plan things out with them and plan it out. Have them be in the conversation so they feel important.
Right.
And then from there, life is going to be life is going to be great.
That's it, brother. I think that's a good way to end it. Again, parenthood is expensive. Just plan ahead.
Yep.
Plan ahead, reducing stress, financial strain. It's going to help you. Small, consistent saving, smart budgeting, make a big difference over time. And teaching financial literacy, having your kids understand there's a reason we're not going to that. We can't afford it. That's okay. But where we are going to go is going to be just as fun because we're going to be together.
Yeah.
You're setting your kids up for success if you do it that way. Roy, I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This is episode 9 of Parents and Pennies. And any takeaway?
Hey, have a blessed week. Enjoy the most important people in your life. Hug them, love them, tell them you are proud of them, and, have fun. Take care.
All right, guys. Take care.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Parents and Pennies. We hope you found our tips and insights helpful. Remember, it's not about how much you have. It's about making the most of what you've got. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with other parents who could use a little financial guidance. Join us next week for more real stories, advice, and the financial wisdom you need to keep your family thriving. Until then, keep making those pennies count.